Hey guys, and welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to make a put request to an API in Swift. If you haven't seen my past two videos in this series, go ahead and check them out. All right, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is just going to go ahead and make a new file. We're going to create a Swift file, and we're going to call it networking. Okay, and go ahead and import UIKit. And we're also going to create a class. And let's name this networking of type NS object. Okay, and we're only going to have one function in here, and we're going to name that submit visitation points, and that is going to be of type of our codable struct, if you remember from collection. So that's going to be of type visitation points to send. So let's go ahead back to our networking. This is going to be visitation points to send. And then upon completion, we'll have our potential error, and we'll go ahead and have that return nothing, and that will be optional. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is create our URL for our request. So let's go ahead and save our request equals URL request. And we're going to specify our URL here. And I'm actually going to copy my API endpoint into here, like so. Okay, next up, we need to specify what type of method it is. So, request.http method equals, I'm going to go ahead and say put. Yours may be different, maybe a GET request, a POST request, etc. Let's see, what did I miss here? Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and force unwrap that. Okay, moving on. We're going to need to specify our headers for the request. So let's go ahead and say request.all HTTP header fields. And we're going to go ahead and set our headers content type. We're going to say application/JSON. And let's go ahead and set those headers. So all HTTP header fields equals headers. Okay. Now, like we said earlier, visitation points to send is a codable type. So we will need to JSON encode that. So let's go ahead and do. So we'll have a do and a try and a catch. So let encoder equal JSON encoder. Let JSON data equals try encoder.encode, and go ahead and pass in our points here. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to actually encode our points with our JSON encoder. So let JSON data equal try encoder.encode points. Okay. And because we're doing a try statement here, we'll also need a catch, and we'll just go ahead and print that error if we have one. Okay, now we need something to actually set this JSON data to, because it's inside our do statement. So let's go ahead and say var data of type data We'll make that an optional. And we're going to go ahead and say data equals JSON data. Okay, so now that we have this data, we'll need to go ahead and set our request body. Let's go ahead and do that by specifying request.http body equals, and we're going to go ahead and set that to our data. And let's go ahead and force unwrap that. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and we will configure our session. So let's go ahead and say let config equal URL session configuration dot default. And let's set our session to URL session with that configuration. Okay, now let's go ahead and set our task. And our task is going to be what actually makes the call and handles the response. So go ahead and let task equal session dot data task with, and we're going to go ahead and specify URL request. And our closure here will return a response data, a response, and a response error. And let's go ahead and handle what it returns. So let's check first if there is a response error. And if so, let's go ahead and handle that. Okay, and now let's check if we have some data that it responded with. And we'll also need a UTF-8 representation of this data so that we can actually read it in string format. And if that exists, then let's go ahead and print our response. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and print that we did not receive any readable data. And we'll go ahead and resume from our asynchronous function. All right, so it looks like we have a typo here, so let's go ahead and fix that. And it looks like we have another typo here. All right. So that's going to be our only function here in our networking class. So let's go ahead and call this function. So the way we're going to do this, let's go into our location manager, and we left this little part here empty for sending data. So let's first go ahead and let's get our data points. So let's go ahead and say let data equal self.fieldCollector.get visitation points. And then we will go ahead and create a networking object. So let's go ahead up here, and we're going to call it our networker type networking. And now we can go ahead and call self.networker.submit visitation points, and we're going to call that data. And in our completion, we will actually create a closure. And we're going to check this error. And if there is an error, we go ahead and close out the program with a fatal error with its localized description. All right, so there you have it. So far, what we've managed to do is collect visitation and location points. We've gotten fields from our visitation points, and we've gone ahead and sent those visitation points to an API. If you want to test this, I highly recommend using Postman Echo or whatever API you've set up. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.